I almost forgot, guys. Hi, hello, happy Saturday once again, and welcome to another episode of Speaking Plain English. I am your host, Roberta. Excuse that intro before I kind of got a little out of order. But we are here and we are here for another episode on this Saturday. Just remember, we are here every first and last Saturday of every month, and we always have some pretty good topics coming up. I have no guests today. Last time I said that, I guess we already established that I'm the guest. So it's just going to be me today. There's no co-host, there's no guest, but we're going to have a pretty good topic today. And what we are going to discuss today is the time to renew. That's going to be our discussion, the time to renew, how to know, first of all, let's digging deeper into like the definition of renewing, and exactly what it is to renew, and how when it's time, and pretty much what to do. I wanted to have this discussion because like I've been hearing that word a lot since I want to say August, actually. August, since like the beginning of August, since August 1st, to be perfectly honest with you. Since August 1st, there's just been a lot of things that have been transpiring, not just in my life, but in the lives of others that that I've talked to. There's just been a lot of things that seem to kind of like be resetting itself, or the word renew. And so I've felt like it would be interesting to dive into that a little bit, discussion about what it's about, what renewing actually is. One thing that I don't do that I actually should definitely start doing is reminding everyone to do this, the liking and the sharing and the commenting and all that stuff. It would be, I love to see your comments, because especially on days when I don't have a guest, because it I like interacting with you guys, and I like you guys to talk back to me. So if there's any comments or anything that you may have, feel free to talk back to me, or if you resonate with something that's being said, feel free. Okay. And that's with everything. That's with every episode. Because I don't like to be the only one talking. So let's go. So first of all, let's get into what Webster's definitions. I'll say definitions because there are a few here of the word renew. Of course, the renew is a verb. The first, I'm just going to try that on me. The first definition of renew is to resume an activity after an interruption. For example, like the parents renewing their campaign to save the school. There's another one that is reestablishing like a relationship. Their example is to renew their friendship, not having seen one another for 5 years. Um, Another one is to repeat a statement. Detectives renew their appeal for witnesses to contact them. To give fresh life. I like, this is my favorite. To give fresh life or strength, or to revive. Their example is, my stay at the retreat has renewed me. That is my favorite. We're going to go into, a good amount of them, but that one is my absolute favorite. So that all that was one. The second one is to extend for a further period the validity, to extend for a further period the validity of like a license or a subscription or a contract. And then the third definition is to replace something that is broken or worn out, like a generator was replaced and filters were renewed. So we're going to get into a little bit about, first of all, why I wanted to discuss, renewing and what renewing actually is here. I'm going to give y'all an example of what one particular, and I think I may have mentioned this in one episode prior. One particular thing that has happened with me is how, like, for those of you who may have seen my website and those who know my web designer, shout out to Carlene Wright. Let me tell y'all, she did an absolutely amazing job on my website. I want to say that website has been up for about 2 years now. I believe it's been 2 years. And yep, it has to have been 2 years because I just had to renew my LLC. So she's done amazing work on it. When I tell you, this lady has absolutely gone in, and I didn't really give her much. All I did was I told her, I gave her pictures, and I kind of gave her a little bit of guidance on what it is that I wanted to do. But that was it. I didn't give her very much. I gave her pictures, I gave her verbiage, and I would give her my blog monthly. And then she would just go to work and go to town and do what she did. And every time I was floored by the results of it. So for those of you who may have seen my website, you guys know how beautiful it looked and how well put together it was, and just, how awesome it looked. So I believe it was August. And this was in the middle of like when I tell you, things just kept happening and happening and happening. And I was just like, okay, what in the world is going on here? In August, I don't remember the date. I wish I remembered the date, but it was time for me. I needed to renew my my GoDaddy subscription for my domain. And in the process of doing that, and to make a long story short, everything was wiped out. My entire website was wiped out. They were supposed to restore it. Maybe we should look into that word too, actually. They were supposed to restore it. What ended up happening was somebody else's stuff. Like, if you look at it now, it's my, my domain and my, my website. It's still www.doyhmarketing.com, but it's somebody else's stuff. And it's like, when I tell you the anger that I felt when I saw that, especially after all that I had to go through to actually get it renewed, it was a mess, y'all. It was a lot. So what ended up happening was I was literally about to say, you know what, forget it. I'm done. Shut the whole thing down. Give me my money back. I'm through. And I was about to like really just quit. Not quit the business itself, but quit the idea of having, not the idea of having a website, but I was just going to just leave it and let it go and just try something else another time. I was just angry. I was very angry. But before I said this, I heard the word renew. And actually, that was something that I had been, hearing before the month, which that's another story for another day again. But what ended up happening was I heard the words renew. So I'm like, you know what? Let me call Carlene. Let me talk to her first and see, what she thinks that I should do, being that she's the one that's the designer anyway. So maybe if there's something that she can do or any suggestions or anything. I was trying to figure that out. So I told her what happened, and she looked in the website, and then it took her a minute to answer me. So she comes back and she says, you know what? When I first saw the website, I was absolutely angry. She said that she was really angry, but she heard the same word, renew. And that has actually had been the theme for August. So it was like all things, everything new, all things new, just like the scripture. He that is in Christ is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are new. So she said that she had to take a minute, and she was actually considering doing a whole revamp of the website anyway. And there were reasons for that that I'm just now starting to understand, that things have to absolutely be new for me. Like everything has to be new. A lot of stuff that was attached to my name, or put it like that, or attached to me before, um I have to release. I'll put it like that. I'll have to release. And so this is the reason why I love this definition, which is to um give fresh life or strength to, and to revive it. Because I'm gonna tell you something. So for those who love English, because I love the word English. I love the language of English, kind of. You know what I mean? Because it's weird, but for the most part, I'm one of those people. Like if you spell something wrong, or if I spell something wrong, and I hate autocorrect. I'm one of those people who will go back and correct it instead of leaving it there. That's why me and not spell check, autocorrect don't get along very well, because they're always correcting my stuff when I don't mean to correct it, to have it, corrected in the way that they think. But so being that I like English in a sense, um, I thought about the breakdown of the word renew. Re being a prefix, meaning, to do over, and new, which is something fresh. So that kind of sounds like an oxymoron to me if you really think about it. Like, how are you going to redo something that is absolutely fresh? So that's why I took a minute to kind of look at the definition of it. And I see that it is possible, because if you're doing it over, that doesn't necessarily you're doing the same thing over again. Maybe it's the same concept, or you're trying it again, with a new pair of eyes, with a new set of eyes, or with a new outlook, or with a new agenda, with a new approach. And that could mean that everything looks new. Like what I'm looking forward to, with the revision and the renewing of my website, is more of me. I'll put it like that. More of who I am and what I represent and what my company represents. And there's a lot of that there are some other things that were on the website that needed to be done away with. And I get it. I get it 100%. So one thing that I wanted to, and this is not going to be very long, guys. One thing that I wanted to encourage everybody, is if things are seemingly going like haywire, because when I tell you, it's like hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. If there's, if you're losing a lot of different things, if some of your equipment is going, like when I tell you, it's just been issues after issue. I'm not going to give all examples, but another example that I'll give is, hey, Carlini Leanie. That's my peach fuzz pie, y'all. Listen, this is who I was talking about, when I was talking about the website. Yeah. So if you need anything done, websites, designer, as far as like web design, anything, that's where you're going. Y'all know I'm not going to steer you wrong when it comes to good food, good music, and recommending good people. That's where you need to go. So yes, I did. Yes, I did. So like and the funny thing is, the story I'm about to tell again, she was with me. So again, those who know me, I don't know if I did this on an episode prior. No, it wasn't an episode. It was like a live that I did for something else. Instagram, I think. But those who know me know that I am Samsung Galaxy Gung Ho. That's me. I love it. But in a nutshell, without having to go into the entire story, I'm using an iPhone now. And I was very, very reluctant to do it. And I almost broke down in the store. I actually kind of did break down, cried in the store. Yeah, here she is. Here she is. I broke down crying in the store, and it was about to leave, because I'm like, I couldn't get it together for nothing. I couldn't get anything together for nothing. So the fact that when I got there, like I was looking for a new Samsung, my face was like being pushed towards the iPhones. And after actually just talking to two of my cousins actually about, they were trying to convince me to go iPhone. And I'm like, no, I don't like Apple products. I do not. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I don't. I had already kind of been like, reluctant because I had already I've been reluctant because there was, I actually needed to get, oh my Lord. Okay. So without giving the entire story away, I had just had a conversation with my best friend, like, I want to say 2 weeks prior to my phone jacking up again. I did break down. I know it was embarrassing. And because of some of the things that we were discussing, he told me what my three next moves were. There were three specific things that I needed to get. And that was like, he said, that's your next move. And I said, well, my next move is to move, but I get it. So what I did was he suggested I put it on my vision board, and that's what I did. And 2 weeks later, this whole thing with the phone with my phone jacking up, when I tell you this thing completely shut off, and I had just got it 2 weeks, like I had just had it for 2 weeks. Not the one that I'm using now, but another phone that I had before. I only had it for 2 weeks. It was brand new. It wasn't refurbished or anything. It was another Galaxy. And I had it for 2 weeks. And the thing shut off on me. Shut all the way off on me. Would not come back on. After, going off and on, back and forth every so often. And so, without getting into too much other detail, the next day, I had spoken with my cousin, spoke with Carlene, and she suggested that I go to a whole new company, and she came with me. I'm looking for Samsungs. My face gets pushed towards the iPhone section, and where there was a lot of things that I didn't think, and even the sales guy thought that wasn't necessarily going to work. We tried it anyway. Like, there were two options, I guess, for discounts or whatever, because they had a sale going on or something, or a special going on. So what they ended up doing was, checking to see whether or not, right, she did not push my face. Okay, so when I say that it felt like my face was being pushed towards iPhone, it wasn't her. It wasn't Carlene. It was like, honestly, it had to be God. It had to be. My head, just like, my face was like, I promise, it felt like a literal hand was pushing my face in that direction. I'm over here in the Samsung selection, section, trying to find what I want. And then my face is like, look this way. And I'm like, no, why am I looking over here? So, in a nutshell, just the way God does things, he makes a way as usual. And what Carlene said to me was, Roberta, you're going to need this for your business. And I'm like, right, because there are certain things that I need that it's going to have to be, that I'm going to have to use Apple for. And I'm like, all right. And I think that's when I started crying. I think around that time is when I started crying. So I go and I look and I see the phones. I'm like, I don't want to do any of these, but whatever. Fine, let's see. And not only was I able to choose between two plans, I was able to actually take advantage of both. And I'm like, okay, Lord. And then when they ask about, like, down payments and everything, I hate that idea of having a down payment for a phone. That still makes me nauseous, to be honest. But the guy, looked up everything, and where I thought it was going to be something ridiculous that I wasn't going to be able to do, he looks and he's like, well, you barely have to really pay anything. And I got up. I literally got up and I walked out for like 2 seconds. I got up and walked out. So all of that pretty much, and then after that, so I ended up all of that ended up happening as far as, like, with the conversation that we're having about being renewed and renewing. I ended up having to let go of, or have a renew of a phone, an upgrade per se. So that's another word I guess you can say for renewing is upgrading. So I went from, and not to say that that Samsungs aren't a great, they're not a great brand, because I love them. As a matter of fact, if y'all don't know, a lot of the stuff that Apple has is because of Samsung. And there's still things about Apple. I mean, I'm getting used to it. There's just other things that's about it that just still annoys me. And hey, it is what it is. But there are other functions that I'm able to do now. And after that, after I ended up getting the phone, I called my cousin, or she called. Thank you, Samsung forever, for life. Listen, I may have an Apple, but I'm still a Samsung girl, and I will always be, always be. It's just there's a reason that I have to have an Apple, and that's, we'll find out. Y'all will find out about that later, and that actually all ties into the Samsung stuff too. So y'all will find out later. Anyway, what I ended up finding out is because I called my cousin afterwards. Actually, no. I didn't call him. Carlene did. Carly, because it's her son, and which was one of the ones that was telling me, you need to get an iPhone. You need to get an iPhone. And so, come to find out that he had some equipment, not just some equipment, but the very 3 pieces of equipment plus some that my best friend had just told me 2 weeks prior that was going to be my next move, that he was going to get, that he was not trying to, but he wanted to sell, because actually there was one particular piece of equipment that he said that was in that list, because that he didn't need anymore because he has another setup. So I asked him about that one thing. And then he tells me, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And as a matter of fact, you're going to need this, and you're going to need this, and you're going to need this. So those very 3 things that, like I said, we were just discussing that I needed, or that was going to be my next move, he threw in for free. Plus some. So I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Threw them all in. So I'm just like, all right, Lord, I see you. I see exactly what's happening. I see what's going on. It's all about renewing. And it's uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. It's something I have to learn. And I don't have an issue with learning. It's just uncomfortable for me because it's not something that I really am fond of. I'll put it like that. So that's just one thing, one example. God is absolutely amazing. He is absolutely amazing. And so one thing that I am watching him do is fine tune my ear and to allow him to guide me when it comes to a lot of things, because with renewing is, again, like letting go, and also learning how to function again, learning how to function differently. I'll put it like that. Learning how to function differently and learning how to do things differently and unlearning some things as well. And again, it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. A lot of it can be downright heartbreaking, to be honest. But at the end of the day, it's all for our better. You know what I mean? Even when it comes to especially like business, when companies are used to doing things a certain way and not understanding that, times are moving, and not even just that, like when companies are nope, I'm not going to say that. When companies, okay, I'll say it. All right. So, have you ever eaten at a restaurant and the food was horrible, the service was horrible, everything about it was horrible, and you swore up and down, I'm never going back to this place again. Never going back to this place again. It's disgusting. I don't like the customer service. Everything is trash. But then, okay, got it. But then they renew some things. They take some time to step back, and they take some time to see why, people are giving the response that they're giving, and then they change, they fix it. So in that, if they try to go back at people with the same old approach, the same response is going to happen. The same results are going to happen. I mean, there will be some who may not know, may not have heard of, the restaurant, and will still eat there. But imagine those who've already had a bad taste in their mouth about it. You know what I mean? It's necessary to actually, for the company to take that extra step, even though that they're, because nobody is really going to know the newness that has happened or the changes that have happened if they're not willing to give it a chance. And if you come at them with the same old approach, they're not going to give it a chance. You may get those who may not have known before, but those who have already seen and experienced it, they'll already be like, oh, nah, don't even bring that to me. And anybody who tries to, we'll put it like this. If anybody is trying to, hey, cousin, anybody that's the other one who told me I need to get an iPhone. How about that? So anybody who works at the restaurant, if they try to tell you, or, like, yo, I need you to come over and try this food, this is, this restaurant, and you tell them what it is, or they go, maybe you might not even tell them what it is, but you show them, or you give them the address, or they see the sign, and the sign is still the same, and it's like, oh, you trying to poison me. So that makes people lose trust in I was not trying to go here. Whew, all right. It makes people lose trust in the representative, because hey, it makes people lose trust in the the representative, because of how they're like, man, I thought that I thought that I could trust you, or I thought that, and you're going to try to bring me here. And that's the problem. So when it comes to business, if you have done things, if you've changed, if you've done things, if you've increased your if not increased, if you've expanded, if you're doing things differently, if you've made any improvements, then you need to bring a whole new approach. And that's just what it is. That's in church as well. That goes with ministry as well. Listen, I'm going to tell you, that's the word. Exactly. It's renewed. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a prime example of a ministry. I remember, as if anybody ever heard of, do y'all remember, what is his name? Fred Price. So anybody, a lot of us know the Great Reset. Honey. So we're looking at, I remember there being a pastor, and I actually got to see him in person. His name was Frederick Casey Price, I believe. But for a long time, he had been like preaching some craziness. I'll put it like that. And then people got really turned off to him. And then some, we're okay with it. And then the others were like, nah, I'm not feeling this. And not just I'm not feeling this because it's not what they like, it's I'm not feeling this because this isn't right. So when I moved to Memphis, I visited a church. I went to a church in Memphis. Shout out to Breath of Life Christian Center. Pastor Sammy D. Holloway and Lady Addie Holloway. I love them. So they actually invited him, I believe they may have had a pretty good relationship. And so he came to the church once that I remember, and I believe it was I'm not sure if it was him or his wife that said they had been in ministry for X amount of years, but they had been in ministry under the word of God for a shorter amount of years. I'm like, I'm feeling y'all on that, because that was necessary for them to say that. And the reason why it was necessary for them to say that is because they realized where they went wrong. They realized that a good amount of people had already gotten turned off to them because they did not realize that they were operating incorrectly. I'll put it like that. But they had to change some things. Once they knew better, they did better. And so I wasn't trying to go this whole route with this, but listen, if somebody needs to hear it, somebody needs to hear it. And then another thing that is coming to mind right now that I think is for me, but I maybe for somebody else, is something that came to mind before. Maybe it's going to take you. Maybe you are the person who has to actually open your mouth and say, listen, I get that, that things are different, and I see how, they're better, but nobody's going to know that if you don't come at a different way. Nobody's going to know that if you don't change your approach. Because if you keep doing things the same old way, and that would be, thank you, Lord, that would be an example of putting new wine. Come on, Jesus. Putting new wine into old wineskins. The joint gonna break and it ain't gonna work. Moment of silence. I believe that's the example of that. So we went through every route, and I'm almost done, y'all, except for that goes with relationships as well. There's a lot that we can tackle when it comes to like renewing as far as relationships go. And that goes with family, and that goes with, all types of relationships, whether it's business, platonic, romantic, whatever. What we like to see is we like things to, I will put it like this: longevity means absolutely nothing. Longevity numbers mean nothing if the quality is whack. I'll put it like that. If the quality of the time that was spent was garbage. Like, you can be and I believe we discussed this in another episode somewhere else. You can be at a job, you can be in a marriage, you can be in a relationship, you can be, doing something, anything for 30 something odd, 50 something odd years and hate each other the entire time. Going back and forth and not, not being better, not improving, just going back for the sake of being comfortable, or staying around for the sake of being comfortable because I know this is who I know, or staying around for the kids, or because I'm afraid to try again. You know what? Whatever reason. If the difference between, I'll put it like this: if you're going to renew, if you're going to, as far as renewing in this type of situation, it's not renewing if you keep trying the same things over and over again. If there's a different approach, if things are improving, I'll put it like that, then that's different. Renewing of the vows, right? The reason why people do that is so that you can be reminded of it. You can be reminded of what it is that you committed to remind yourself and to remind each other what it is that you're committed to, and then go at it again at a different approach if need be. If you keep trying it the same way, it's not going to work. If nobody's willing to budge, if nobody is willing to change, if nobody is willing to, to try it, to try it at a different angle, it's not going to work. However, if that's what you want, if both parties want things to work, then that's what needs to be done on both ends. It's not just one person. It's not just one person that's supposed to be willing to do the changing. Both of you take a real good look at yourselves and like, listen, this is where I went wrong. This is where I went wrong. Maybe we should try this, or maybe I should try this. Maybe I should try to look at this a little better. You know what I mean? It always starts with taking a look at yourself. And the best way to renew anything that you're involved in is to be renewed yourself. And that's where I'm going to leave it. That's where I'm going to leave it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And it was pretty quick, but there's not a lot that needs to be said when it comes to it. I'm learning. I'm really, really learning that at the end of the day, at the end of it all, as long as you are doing what it is that God wants you to do, I'll take it personally. As long as I am doing whatever it is that God wants me to do and take the steps that are needed, no matter how hard they are, no matter what I have to, no matter what has to go, no matter what has to, change, what it is, that he's going to be there every step of the way. When I tell y'all, it doesn't feel good. It does not feel good at all. But at the end of the day, it's necessary and it's better for your growth. It's better for your growth because I'm going to tell you something that grows quickly. Weeds. Weeds grow just as fast as flowers. But they'll kill them. They'll suck the very life out of them, out of your progress and out of your beautiful plants, out of your beautiful, your crops. If you don't prune them, if you don't, get rid of them, and they'll try to grow right with them. Sometimes some of them can even be disguised as flowers. So know the difference between what's a weed and what's an actual plant or flower. That's one. And two, follow God's step when it comes to everything. When it comes to everything, that should really be one. But when it comes to every and anything, because he sees the path ahead and he knows exactly how to get to where you're going. He made it, remember? So when it comes down to the process itself, yes, it hurts. It can definitely hurt because, like, when I tell y'all, like, it seems like it's been seeming like one thing after the next. And what I'm learning, and I'm going to end it with this, what I'm learning is that it's okay to actually feel the hurt, to actually feel, because if it's something that's tearing away from you, or if it's something that you're used to having, or if it's something that you even feel like you need, but it's time to let it go, that's going to hurt. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be very, very frustrating. So it's okay to feel the frustration. Just don't quit. It's okay to feel the hurt of it, but just don't quit. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's okay. There's a difference between, feeling the pain of the process and, I guess the word is, complaining about it. There's a difference. And I'm learning, that there's a difference. And just trust God and trust the process, y'all. I'm done. Y'all have a great afternoon. This has been another episode of Speaking Plain English. Until next time. Oh, by the way, just remember to doing the liking and the subscribing and the sharing and all that stuff. And if you decide that you want to sew into, don't go to the website. It's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. But if you want to make a donation or anything for Speaking Plain English or anything that DOYH Marketing does, it will be an absolute amazing blessing. And I'd appreciate you. I appreciate y'all anyway for watching. Until next time. Bye, guys.